Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're going to be talking about Jasmy because Jasmy's seen a really nice recovery recently, and honestly for all the Jasmy holders, hopefully this has been pretty fun and looking pretty nice to you, because before probably about the past 6 or 8 weeks, Jasmy was terribly boring. It was basically doing nothing. Volume was low, volume was terrible. There wasn't really much price action or price movement. Any price action was like very tiny. It's probably like 1/10 of a cent or 1/20th of a cent, something like that. Really small. But now we're finally starting to see some volume, some volatility, and some action on Jasmy, which for me is really nice to see. So anyway, let's go ahead, dive right in and take a quick look at it. Starting out, I want to take a look though at the crypto bubbles, because what we can see, obviously Jasmy sitting right here, 10.8% just on the day, so things looking pretty good there overall. Also, we are seeing HBAR, BGB, Pengu, even VeChain and XLM doing pretty well also. But overall, as we can see, kind of, looks like Fartcoin is coming in at 37%. This one kind of pops in and out because what we can see is it is the 100 ranked coin. And so we can see is that every time crypto bubbles only takes in the top 100 coins. And so we can see that every time this comes into the 100th place, then it'll pop in, and if it drops, then we may see it pop out if it drops here below that here in a second. But what we can see overall kind of market wide is that there is far more green than red. Obviously we have a couple reds here and there kind of intermingled throughout the entire crypto bubbles, but most are very much green, and it's like we're seeing some pretty strongly green. If we do look at the week though, things still are negative for the vast majority. Obviously Fartcoin, one that's doing well, Move another that's doing well, HBAR, Hype, BGB, and Pengu also doing great. Virtual's another one. We've talked about virtuals on the channel before. This one I'm going to be taking a very close look at, because this one is one that I think could have the potential to do some really crazy numbers as we get into the bull run. But we'll talk about that on another video. What we can see here on Jasmy, down only 8% on the week, which when we look at the chart here in a second, I think we'll look at this and probably chalk it up as a win, particularly with what we're seeing with some of the other coins in the market. I mean, Jasmy down less than Ethereum. It's blocked by my picture, but that's down 10.8%. It's down less than Solana, almost holding in form with Bitcoin. Like, I mean, honestly, like nothing to be super upset about with what we're seeing on Jasmy so far. Obviously, you know, would be nice to be pulling some like virtual or hyperliquid numbers or stuff like that. But what we can see though, looking at the chart, is things looking relatively nice. Now we'll start with the fib retracement so we can get rid of that and kind of clean up the chart as we go. But what we can see is honestly the Jasmy chart is kind of holding supports and resistances that we've identified better than fib retracements, I would say. Now what we can see obviously is we never made it up to the 1618 in terms of the fib retracement. We got just shy of that, stopping out right before that 6 cent range. There were a lot of people kind of calling for this, which I think is probably partially a reason why that happened. We could also see, you know, some level of resistance and support here at that like 4.8 cent range. We can see the one fib level, not too much. I mean, we could see a little bit of resistance and support here and there, but primarily I would probably call this 4.7, 4.8 cent range probably a little bit higher level of support and resistance. I guess we could maybe call this 786 level a little bit of support and resistance. We saw, you know, when we were coming down and bouncing, we were using the 786 as a little bit of support here, coupled with this trend line that we did draw. Also, when we did come back down, we dropped past the 618 and onto this level of support that we see at about the 3.1 cent range that we can see at the previous highs back here that we were seeing towards the end of July, beginning of August. That's kind of what we were seeing there. So getting rid of the fib, let's take a look at some of the other stuff that we're seeing. So obviously, as we just barely mentioned, we were holding this trend line pretty well. You know, we can see right here, we were forming a bit of a wedge. Usually when we see an ascending wedge like that, more often than not, the result is that we break out to the bottom side, but it can mean either or. Just this time we did break out to the bottom side. We can see, as I mentioned, we did fall on the support, and actually we held very well. If you do trade any sort of Jasmy, this probably would have been a very nice play. We're seeing up almost 25%, depending on, you know, if you trade leverage or what level of leverage you trade. This could be a very nice play that we are seeing here. So overall, what we can see, really nice recovery. We are hitting a little bit of this kind of resistance point that we have seen in the past. As I said, this is a pretty shallow level of resistance, so there is the possibility and potentially even likelihood that we break through this and continue on to what I would consider to be a much stronger resistance up at the 4.7, 4.8 cent range. However, I would say that this pump that we're having seems a little bit potentially like bull trappy, possibly. So I don't think that we have too much momentum going into this pump, which is what makes me believe that even a weak resistance like this could potentially send Jasmy back to the downside. Again, very, very hard to say, but overall, that's just kind of what I'm seeing on the chart. What we can see with the Bollinger Bands is they'd kind of blown out way, way wide open after we did see this really, really strong move to the upside. We probably will see price consolidate. If I had to guess, we'll probably see price consolidate at least a little bit from what we've seen, and we'll allow these Bollinger Bands to kind of close in a tiny bit. We can see we are sitting more toward the bottom side of the Bollinger Bands. The bottom would be at like just shy of 3 cents, and then the top is close to about 5.5 cents. So a decent bit of a range here. Middle sitting at right about the 4.2 cent range. So maybe we do kind of reach back up to the median line. We can see it has like the median of the Bollinger Band has kind of gone from like an uptrend. It's now, we probably could call it being a downtrend, but it is kind of almost at like a leveled out position as well. So that's kind of what we're seeing on the Jasmy charts. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with what's going on here. If you are interested in finding a place to trade, you can use the BITUNIX link in the description below. They do have up to $5,500 of deposit bonuses if that is something you're looking for. So like I said, if you are looking for a new place to trade, could be a really, really great option for you. Now, moving on, taking a quick look at what we're seeing here on the Jasmy chart, I would probably say we probably have seen the highs for the year. I don't think that we will be kind of reaching back up to this 6 cent range. I do think it is possible that maybe we get even up to or possibly over this like 4.8 cent range. I do also think it's possible that we maybe come back down to this 3 cent range. I would say if we see a more of like a Santa rally or a run up to Christmas or even past Christmas into the new year, that's probably where we get to like the 4.8 cent range. If we were to see this be a little bit of like a bull trap, obviously this pump in the market has been pretty unexpected, kind of for everybody, I would say. So if this kind of tends to be a little bit of a fake out, mainly to liquidate people, stuff like that, especially when we see moves like this and people are caught by surprise, there can sometimes be a higher level of FOMO coming in because people are like, oh my gosh, I was expecting, you know, the market to dump even harder, but it didn't. So now I'm overexposed. So now I probably should just better just buy back in because I don't want to like completely miss the next run. And so that's kind of why it's called a bull trap and why we could potentially see this price coming right back down. Because if people get too optimistic too fast, there is the very likely possibility that we could potentially see this kind of come right back down and essentially liquidate all the people that were trying to jump in and cause a little bit more of like fear and disillusionment and pain in the market, because that's ultimately what the market likes to see, if you ask me. So overall, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Bull case being probably up towards this 4.8 cent range, bear case being staying kind of close to this like 3 cent range. So overall, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give us a like and subscribe. It really, really does help us out. Also, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, just feel free to drop those in the comment section below. Also, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video, and have a great Christmas or holidays or whatever if you do celebrate those. So anyway, thanks. We'll see you in the next one.